Samuel 1, Part 1. The birth of Samuel. There was a certain man of Ramathaim Zophim of the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, son of Lua, son of Toa, son of Zuph, and Ephraite. He had two wives, Hannah and Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. On the day when Elkanah sacrificed, he would give portions to Peninnah his wife and to all her sons and daughters, but to Hannah he gave a double portion because he loved her, though the Lord had closed her womb. And her rival used to provoke her grievously to irritate her because the Lord had closed her womb. So it went on year by year. She was deeply distressed and prayed to the Lord and wept bitterly. And she vowed a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your servant and remember me and not forget your servant, but will give to your servant a son, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall touch his head. And the Lord remembered her. And in due time Hannah conceived and bore a son, and she called his name Samuel. Samuel given to the Lord. Therefore I have lent him to the Lord. As long as he lives, he is lent to the Lord. Hannah's prayer. And Hannah prayed and said, Then Elkanah went home to Ramah, and the boy ministered to the Lord in the presence of Eli the priest. Eli's worthless sons. Thus the sin of the young men was very great in the sight of the Lord, for the men treated the offering of the Lord with contempt, and the young man Samuel grew in the presence of the Lord. Eli rebukes his sons. Now Eli was very old, and he kept hearing all that his sons were doing to all Israel, and how they lay with the women who were serving at the entrance to the tent of meeting. No, my sons, it is not a good report that I hear the people of the Lord spreading abroad. For it was the will of the Lord to put them to death. Now the young man Samuel continued to grow, both in stature and in favor with the Lord and also with man. The Lord rejects Eli's household. Why then do you scorn my sacrifices and my offerings that I commanded? And honor your sons above me by fattening yourselves on the choicest parts of every offering of my people Israel. Behold, the days are coming when I will cut off your strength and the strength of your father's house, so that there will not be an old man in your house. And this that shall come upon your two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, shall be the sign to you. Both of them shall die on the same day. And I will raise up for myself a faithful priest, who shall do according to what is in my heart and in my mind. The Lord calls Samuel. Now the young man Samuel was ministering to the Lord under Eli, and the word of the Lord was rare in those days. There was no frequent visions. And the Lord called Samuel again a third time. And he arose and went to Eli and said, Here I am, for you called me. Then Eli perceived that the Lord was calling the young man. Then the Lord said to Samuel, I am about to punish this house forever for the iniquity that he knew, because his sons were blaspheming God, and he did not restrain them. And Eli said, What was it that he told you? Do not hide it from me. So Samuel told him everything. And Samuel grew, and the word was with him. And all Israel from Dan to Beersheba knew that Samuel was established as a prophet of the Lord. The Philistines capture the ark. So the Philistines fought, and Israel was defeated, and they fled, every man to his home. And there was a very great slaughter, for there fell of Israel 30,000 foot soldiers. And the ark of God was captured, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, died. The death of Eli. Now Eli was 98 years old. As soon as he mentioned the ark of God, Eli fell over backward from his seat by the side of the gate, and his neck was broken, and he died, for the man was very old and heavy. He had judged Israel 40 years. Now his daughter-in-law, the wife of Phinehas, was pregnant, about to give birth, and she named the child Ichabod. The Philistines and the Ark. When the Philistines captured the Ark of God, they brought it from Ebenezer to Ashdod. Then the Philistines took the Ark of God and brought it into the house of Dagon and set it up beside Dagon. And when the people of Ashdod rose early the next day, behold, Dagon had fallen face downward on the ground before the ark of the Lord. So they took Dagon and put him back in his place. But then they rose early the next morning. Behold, Dagon had fallen downward on the ground before the ark of the Lord, and the head of Dagon and both his hands were lying cut off on the threshold. Only the trunk of Dagon was left to him. The hand of the Lord was heavy against the people of Ashdod, and he terrified and afflicted them with tumors, both Ashdod and its territory. And when the men of Ashdod saw how things were, they said, The ark of God of Israel must not remain with us. Let the ark of God of Israel be brought around to Gath. The hand of the Lord was against the city, causing a very great panic. So they sent the ark of God to Ekron. The people of Ekron cried out. They sent therefore and gathered together all the lords of the Philistines and said, Send away the ark. The ark returned to Israel. And the Philistines called for the priests and the diviners and said, What shall we do with the ark of the Lord? They said, If you send away the ark of the God of Israel, do not send it empty, but by all means return him a guilt offering. What is the guilt offering that we shall return to him? They answered, 5 golden tumors and 5 golden mice, according to the number of the lords of the Philistines. For the same plague was on all of you and on your lords. Why should you harden your hearts as the Egyptians? Now then, take and prepare a new cart and 2 milk cows. Then send it off and let it go its way. Now the people of Beth Shemesh were reaping the wheat harvest in the valley, and when they lifted up their eyes and saw the ark, they rejoiced to see it. Samuel judges Israel. And Samuel said to all the house of Israel, If you are returning to the Lord with all your heart, then put away the foreign gods. So the people of Israel put away the Baals and the Ashtaroth, and they served the Lord only. Now when the Philistines heard that the people of Israel had gathered at Mizpah, the lords of the Philistines went up against Israel. And the people of Israel said to Samuel, Do not cease to cry out to the Lord our God for us, that he may save us. As Samuel was offering up the burnt offering, the Philistines drew near to attack Israel. But the Lord thundered with a mighty sound that day against the Philistines and threw them into confusion, and they were routed before Israel. The cities that the Philistines had taken from Israel were restored to Israel, from Ekron to Gath. Israel demands a king. When Samuel became old, he made his sons judges over Israel, Joel and Abijah. Yet his sons did not walk in his ways, but turned aside after gain. They took bribes and perverted justice. Then all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel. Give us a king to judge us. Obey the voice of the people, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from being king over them. Only you shall solemnly warn them and show them the ways of the king who shall serve over them. Samuel's warning against kings. So Samuel told all the words of the Lord. These will be the ways of the king. He will take your sons and appoint them to his chariots and to be his horsemen, and to run before his chariots. And he will appoint for himself commanders of thousands and commanders of 50s, and some to plow his ground and to reap his harvest, and to make his implements of war and the equipment of his chariots. He will take your daughters to be perfumers and cooks and bakers. He will take the best of your fields and vineyards and olive orchards and give them to his servants. He will take the 10th of your grain and of your vineyards and give it to his officers and to his servants. He will take your male servants and female servants and the best of your young men and your donkeys and put them to his work. He will take the 10th of your flocks, and you shall be his slaves. And in that day you will cry out because your king, whom you have chosen, for yourselves, but the Lord will not answer you in that day.